Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Eruvin, pages 77 through 83, Ayin Zayin through Pei Gimel. 77, Ayin Zayin. Kafa Seifel Mema'et. If a person were to overturn a basin near a wall that separates two courtyards, and that wall had a height of 10 tfachim, such that the two courtyards were incapable of joining together in an Eruv, but by overturning the basin, you reduce the height of the wall, the partition, thereby allowing access from one side of the wall to the other, and making them effectively one courtyard potentially for Eruv purposes. This is effective in reducing the height of the wall. So the Gemara asks the question, why should it be effective in reducing the height of the wall? It's a davar nital b'Shabbat. It's something that can be moved on Shabbat. It's not muksa, and therefore it might be moved away during the course of Shabbat, in which case the wall will still be 10 tfachim high and will not have been reduced. So the Gemara responds, Lo tzricha dechabre ba'ara. Well, we're talking about a case where you fix the basin into the ground, and if you wanted to remove it, you'd have to use tools, digging tools, and you'd be guilty of the malacha of chofer. So since you can't do that on Shabbat, the wall has been effectively reduced because there's no way to remove the basin. Ayin Chet, 78. Amar Shmuel, Kotel asara tzarich sulam arba asar latiro. If you want to use a ladder in order to reduce the height of the wall that separates the two courtyards for Eruv purposes, or you want to eliminate the wall altogether, you can use a ladder for that purpose. However, the ladder has to be 14 tfachim high, meaning that it has to be on an angle. It can't be that the ladder is flush against the wall. Why not? As Rashi explains, if the ladder is flush against the wall, it is not so easy to climb that ladder. And the whole point of this process is to maintain ease of access between the two sides of the wall, the two courtyards. However, Rav said, Sulam zakuf b'ma'et, even a vertical ladder, which is flush against the wall, is okay and serves the purpose of mima'et, of reducing the height of the wall. Ayin Tet, 79. Ketzad mishtatfin. How do we create the shituf mavuot, the adjoining of the various courtyards in one mavoi for carrying purposes? Meiniach et hatachavit ve'omer harezu l'chol b'nei mavoi v'zaka lahen. If you would like to make the matter easier, so as not to have to collect food supply from everyone in the mavui, you can have one person announce that this barrel of wine that they own has now been shared, and he has conferred rights to it on all those who live in this mavui. Al yedei beno bitogdolim v'de'adov shivchato ha'ivrim v'dei ishto. So this must be done using another person, by handing over the foodstuff to a second person that person might then acquire on behalf of everyone else who lives in the courtyard, who lives in the mavui. Who can be this person to serve as the agent of everybody else? Well, it could be your adult son, your adult daughter, your adult Hebrew servant, maid servant, or male or female servant, or your wife. However, you cannot use minor children, and you cannot use Eved Kanani. Why? Shiadok Yadan. Because their hand is like your hand, in the sense that they don't have an independent entity for contractual purposes. And so, it would be ineffective to confer rights on everyone else in the Mavui by means of people like minor children or Eved Kanani who cannot function in that capacity. Daf Pei, 80. Masechet Kalato shel Rabbi Oshia. There was an incident involving the daughter-in-law of Rabbi Oshia. She went to the bathhouse on Friday. But it got dark, and she didn't get home in time for Shabbat. And her mother-in-law made an Eruv Techumin on her behalf, in order that she might be allowed to come back home. The matter came before Rabbi Chia ve'asar, and he forbade this. Why did he forbid it? Because the woman who was at the bathhouse did not make the Eruv for herself. It was made on her behalf for her advantage by someone else, unbeknownst to her. And so in the view of Rabbi Chia, this doesn't work. Amalo Rabbi Yishmael bar Rabbi Yossi. So Yishmael bar Yossi says to Rabbi Chia, Bavloi, you Babylonian, you're so strict on the matters of Eruv? Kachamar Abba, my father said the following, however you can be lenient in matters of Eruv, go ahead and be lenient. So you, in this case, should not have been strict about the Eruv Tchumen. You should have allowed it. Pei Aleph, 81. Rabbi Yoshua Mer Shlema in Prusalo. Rabbi Yeshua says that when creating the Eruv, you have to use full breads, whole breads, and you cannot use broken pieces. Prusa my time alone. Now, why cannot you not use a broken piece of bread? Rabbi Yossi Bar Shaul, Rabbi Mishum Eva. The reason is because of ill will that might be created. That those who gave a full loaf are going to be angry at those who gave a partial loaf or an incomplete loaf, and there's going to be dissension within the community, and you don't want that. So therefore, the standard has to be that everyone gives a complete loaf. Erevu kulan beprusot mai. But what happens if nobody used a complete loaf? Everybody used broken pieces. Well, even that's not good. Why? Because maybe the matter will return to its original state, where some people will give a full loaf, and some people will give a partial loaf, and the eva, the ill will return. Pei bet. 92. The following categories of people are forbidden under rabbinic law to testify in court. And one of these categories is a Masechet Bekuvia, a gambler. So why is a gambler forbidden to testify? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Ematai, when is it true that a gambler can't testify? Bisman she'en lo umnot ela lehi, when his only way of earning a living is by gambling. However, if this person is just a gambler on the side, but otherwise has a regular source of income as an ordinary job, then that person is kosher, that person can testify. However, Chachamim Omrim, the sages say, regardless of whether this is his primary occupation or just a side habit, the gambler is not allowed to testify. What are the halachic underpinnings of these various opinions? Well, Rabbi Yehuda's viewpoint is that the professional gambler is eino osek b'yeshuvo shel olam, is not engaged in the building up of civilization of the world. This person is only engaged in for-profit gambling, and so he doesn't have an idea about how hard people work to toil for their money, and so he cannot be trusted. However, the Chachamim say, asmachta lo kanya. The Chachamim say it doesn't matter what this guy does for a living. The whole concept of gambling is a commercial transaction which is effectively stealing, because people think they're going to win, they don't think they're going to lose. And so this person is on par with Gazlanim and therefore cannot testify. Pei Gimel, 83. Rabbi Natan, Rabbi Dosa, Amru Kebetza, Shamru Kamal Kalapita. The Rabbi Natan and Rabbi Dosa say that when the halachic measure of kebetza, like an egg's bulk, was stated, it means like an egg's bulk, and its klipa, its shell. Even though the shell is inedible, still, when we reckon the size of an egg's bulk, we're including the shell. Whereas the sages say, kamwa b'lo klipata, that the size of a kebetza is the edible amount of the egg, but not including the shell. Everyone have a great week.